All right, we're good to go. You guys are.
He's not ready. He's having a baby.
Good morning.
Turn your mic on.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Omar McKnight. I'm the newly assigned captain here in DeBerry. I'm excited to be here. I just met a lot of the city folks this morning, and I think we're going to have a really good time moving forward. It's going to be a really good experience for me. I'm excited.
So you might as well jump right into it.
So I took over for Lieutenant Cochran, who was holding down the fort, and from what I can tell, things are moving in the right direction. I don't have any closure notes or closure rates right now because we're switching to a new system. However, for our crime for the month, we've looked pretty good for our patrol side. We had a traffic operation that we did yesterday that County Motors helped us out with. They were here for 4 hours, and they wrote over almost 90 citations in 4 hours here in the city. I think they had 82 stops in that range. Very, very effective. I think they got some compliance. We'll be looking to do that periodically. If it'll be a quarterly basis, we'll look at the numbers and see when we need to actually do enforcement. I've met with a lot of the deputies and the sergeants in the district, and we're going to be gearing up for school that's getting ready to start. We're going to be obviously going to all the bus stops and doing walkthroughs with all the schools, gearing up for back to school, which starts on Monday. So looking forward to that as well.
Captain Megan, you want to talk about the new law and the technology that we can deploy in certain school zones?
Yeah, we're actually working on a pilot program with a couple different vendors. So we're working on a pilot program with a couple different vendors with speed zone cameras that detect speed violations in our school zones, and also cameras that are on school buses for people that drive past the stop arm on school buses. So it's encouraging technology. There are a couple counties that are actually using it, and that law passed. I believe it took effect in April. So we've got a couple similar size agencies that are using it, and the numbers are impressive. They've cut the speeding violations almost in half. So,
That is impressive.
yep.
Yeah. And I think the important thing to note is yesterday, what came in here to run the traffic op. Start with crime?
Absolutely. So for the crime for the month, we actually look really, really good for the patrol side. Our first case we have up is an assault simple that was a dating violence crime, and that was cleared by arrest. Next up, we've got a domestic violence battery. That was also cleared by arrest. We had one burglary business, and that was at 195 Barwick Road. When the RP arrived to work, he noticed some shipping containers that had the locks cut off. When they went inside, they realized a large spool of wire was removed from one of the containers, and this was turned over to detectives.
The video surveillance in this one showed a white box truck. Two males exit the box truck and go into the Connex and take out the spool of wire. With the LPRs in the area, we were able to get a tag for the vehicle. The tag was stolen out of Miramar, Florida. Doing some research, the tag also hit another LPR camera in Indian River County, putting it in the area. So Indian River assisted us with doing surveillance or doing a neighborhood canvas there and located the subjects at a nearby McDonald's. So we've got some facial recognition back on that with a possible match. So we're following that up. Another thing was another vehicle was following the box truck throughout the city of DeBerry. We were able to determine that was a rental vehicle, contacted the person who rented it. Unfortunately, she hung up on the deputy, so we're still following up with that part. So that one, we've got a lot of wind on our sails in that one, so we should be able to come to a good conclusion here shortly.
Isn't technology just wonderful?
It is.
Good stuff.
Next up, we've got a criminal mischief. That was looks like a boyfriend and girlfriend issue. Our suspect poured sugar into a gas tank and then stuck a stick into a fuel tank. And we ended up tracking down our suspect, and he was arrested. We've got two domestic violence aggravated that both of them were cleared by arrest. And then if you want to skip down to page 7, we had one larceny car break, and that was at Little Sammy's. Our victim stopped at the Little Sammy's to use the restroom. Upon returning to the vehicle, noticed that his cell phone was missing and also a work tablet was missing. This was turned over to detectives.
We got with the store owners on this one for their video surveillance. Unfortunately, their video surveillance that day was not working. We were able to confirm that. They did have a suspect in that case. It was a homeless transient that was hanging out in front of the store but had walked away when it was reported. Deputies stopped him, but they weren't able to get into his backpack to search it. He didn't allow that. So the business owner has not been able to provide the serial number for the iPad or the iPhone yet, so we're still waiting on that. And the suspect has not pawned any items similar to that, so that one's still active.
Okay.
We had our robbery strong arm. This is a domestic violence related case, and this was also cleared by arrest. For our domestic violence simple cases, we were 11 for 11. So all of our patrol cases for this time period were all cleared by arrest.
And I want to thanks Shari for getting me in trouble with all the other cities that I contract with for putting up that Barry is the safest city in Volusia County, even though it is. I took a little heat from the other contract cities that we have when you put that up there. Yes. I want to introduce Captain Todd Smith. Todd is our liaison between the schools and our communities and the sheriff's office. So as you start your first full season.
So this year we're excited to announce that River Springs Middle School in Orange City is going to have an SRO, so that's very good, as well as New Smyrna Beach Middle School. Actually today, all of our SROs and SRDs are getting specific training from the state attorney's office on what they need for us, as well as how we deal with civil citations, which we revamped earlier, I believe it was last year. We're also getting specific training for our SROs and our SRDs on how to deal with emotionally or behaviorally disabled children or ADA students. This is really important to ensure that, we meet all the schools requirements as well as, we're protecting our youth as well. So basically we've wrapped a shield of protection around our kids. We tried our best to do that using industry standards and best practices. We have school hardening, obviously. When you look at the schools now, they have fences around them, they have single point entry, they have gates that are shut and locked, and obviously we have door locks on all our doors. We also have Centegics, which is an alert system that the teachers all have on them as well as the administrators, so that if there is something that happens on the campus, they can just hit that button a specific amount of time. It goes directly to our law enforcement dispatch. They dispatch it out to everybody, and everybody responds in real time. So it cuts out all the middlemen. We can get there instantaneously. I believe in Deltona we had 19 deputies on scene at one of the schools in a false alarm in under 5 minutes. So that's a lot of resources there. We also use Raptor. So Raptor is a technology that we use to ensure that sex offenders don't get into our schools. We've actually had 46 different times that a sex offenders tried to get into schools in Volusia County.
Wow.
So it works. Mm-hmm. It protects our kids. We have Fortify Florida. That's a tip system, kind of like Crime Stoppers, and we train all the kids on how to use it. And we have a campaign of see something, say something, and then we teach them how to use the Fortify Florida in case they want to make a tip anonymously. So that worked out really well twice last year, where we had a student with a gun in one of the schools, and then after the fact incident where a student had a gun in a school and took it home with them, and then we investigated it after the fact. So in all of our schools, we have a safe school officer. We have either an SRO, an SRD, school resource officer, school resource deputy, or a guardian in every school. And then we have threat management teams. So part of the threat management team is every threat management team, every school has one, and on every team is a law enforcement officer. And when they all get together, they have to come to a consensus on how to deal with the threat before it can be concluded. So they have to agree. So that's something that's very cutting edge for the state of Florida, and also with the Volusia County Schools. And this year, we actually added a district threat management coordinator to oversee all of those threats to ensure that the people that are investigating them and coming to conclusions are coming to the right conclusions. So that's very important. Also, we've done training for all of our staff at the schools to ensure that they know how to deal with all of these different topics that I'm covering right now. We've also worked with all of our partners in law enforcement throughout the county to ensure that everybody's on board and knows how to respond if there is a crisis. Oh, one last thing, mental preparedness. So obviously we saw Scott Peterson was not mentally prepared. We've seen some issues in Uvalde, how terrible that went. So one of the things that I've really been championing mental preparedness for our guardians and our SROs and our SRDs so that we don't end up with a situation like we had in those places. Also, during the training with the teachers and the administrators, we pushed out how to deal with if they see a safe school officer not acting, how to deal with it, to break them, because sometimes it's just paralysis by analysis. You still want to think, like, how should I deal with this? And you just stand there because you're trying to, it just keeps evolving. So if it's safe to do so, they're going to break their paralysis by analysis. Go handle this and make sure that they handle the situation. So we're trying to cover it on all fronts to ensure that everybody's prepared to protect our kids.
Since I don't have anybody from CEU, do I? You want to touch on last night, what happened in Deltona, and one of the questions you got asked?
So last night we did internet safety, and the schools does that's another aspect of how we deal with things. So through the schools itself, we block almost all the apps so that the kids can't use them. We also have Gaggle. So Gaggle is a repository where all of the searches and information that goes into different applications, even Microsoft Word, and then it searches what's going on. So if a kid types in KYS for kill yourself, which is a terminology that kids use that most adults don't realize, it gets flagged and then we investigate it. We also have a content keeper that prevents them from searching those things, so that if they try to search how to shoot up a school, it gets blocked and we get notified immediately. Actually, through Gaggle, we've captured 1,489 different references to suicide. So, it's a very good program that we have and a good way to protect our kids and find out what's going on in real time. And they can go in and actually write in a Word document, little Timmy said that he has a gun, and, it will notify us immediately, even though it's never sent to anybody. And then we can investigate that in real time, so.
Carl, anything you want to add on there from the juvenile perspective? Another day with a split dress. Last night it was
Leave
tan.
her alone.
What she's trying to tell you is I'm not paying her enough, so she has to sew two garments together to come to work.
Good morning, everyone. As Captain Smith stated, we are working to make sure that our kids are safe. And with the Family Resource Center, we now have Hope Florida in there and Halifax Behavior. So we're trying to capture the kids that come through the back door and let the parents know that they can come through the front door, that there's services out there. They're not alone. They're not by themselves. And that we're working with the schools to unify the family and help them become stable, because sometimes the parents need help themselves, especially when it comes to mental health. So helping the parents and then helping the children understand what their parents are going through.
And the school boards said they're committed to giving us a body to be part of the resource center.
Yes, we're having a meeting tomorrow with the school board to discuss the right person to be in the Family Resource Center, with looking at the school as a whole, dealing with 67,000 students. You want to make sure that you have the right person that can touch the largest population with some of the issues that we see with our kids. And sadly, our kids in school are starting to sell fentanyl, traffic fentanyl. So these are some of the things we need to look at as well.
Michael's going to get into this in a minute. We had a 17-year-old in DeLand, senior overdose and die. The seller was a 17-year-old sophomore that sooner or later will be charged with that, but it'll be interesting to see how many other customers our young entrepreneur has. Michael, that's a good segue into you. What are we seeing narcotics-wise? And talk about Operation Daily Dose as well as what was coming into the county.
Well, good morning. Operation Daily Dose, we took that down in June. It was started by the West Side Task Force, and it was overtaken by VBI. We worked together for, I'd say, a good 6 months, day in and day out. That's pretty much all we did. We seized a lot of fentanyl. When it came to the roundup in June, I'll touch on overdoses. Overdoses took a dramatic downfall. That way, we see so much fentanyl and heroin off the streets. We went typically from the 20s to 30s to 11. So, and the first fentanyl seizures just from January through July 31st of this year, we've seen 6,781 grams of just fentanyl.
Which,
So,
and I would it be roughly math, 2,200 grams equals 1.5 million doses.
so
So you times that by 3
yeah, the 6781 is about 4 million.
doses.
So, which is huge, and that's only the first 6 months. I mean, last year we had 3,200, and we're already far surpassed that. So, it was a productive case. Had ties to different counties, which typically they always do. As far as narcotics investigations that are currently going on, we do have some in DeBerry that I can't really talk about, but those will come to a close here, I'd say, in the next month or two. West Volusia, DeLand, mainly Orange City and the District 6 area. We've done so far this year 6 search warrants. We seized 5,200 grams of cannabis, meth, heroin, fentanyl. We seized $14,000 roughly in cash. So it's a continuing process, but you might not see us down here, but we're down here. So
It's the objective is for them not to see you. Yeah. It's the objective.
TJ recommended I wear a ninja mask so you wouldn't know who I was.
Just as long as you don't go jumping off the back of a boat again. That everybody recognized that swan dive. You got anything else?
I think that's it. You got anything else for me?
We'll ask some
We're good.
questions a little bit. Julian, the number one email that I'm getting from all of our retirement homes and HOAs is about fraud and how can the elderly protect themselves, I should say elderly senior population protect themselves, and what are you seeing out there from that aspect?
Good morning. The trends remain the same. We haven't seen any new scams out there. We talked about all the scams that are going around. As far as the educating the elderly, we're more than open to do seminars, which we have. We did a lot last year. We worked with banks, investment firms. If they're willing to host us, we're more than willing to do it.
Which might be something you guys might want to do after we do the internet one.
Right. I think that would be a good one. The other thing that I would suggest, and this is basis personal experience with my parents who are in assisted living at age 91 and 95 with some forms of dementia, is we have implemented as a family a whitelist phone. In other words, the only calls that get through to my family, my dad in particular answers the phone, are calls from numbers that we have inserted into the system. And this may be a tool that you could recommend in certain instances. My father was getting calls all the time, and he would say, "But it's $2 million, Karen. It's $2 million. He's going to deliver it to the front desk, and the free car, they're going to bring me the keys to the front desk." Now, he doesn't have access to the money. We've taken that away. So it was not a real threat. But my father, who was a savvy businessman all his life, who several years back never would have allowed the person to engage him, there was no way we could convince him not to talk to these people. The ideas were just too enticing. So the whitelist actually works fairly well. I have a brother that maintains it. He's in Colorado. He checks it every couple of days. He sees who's called my parents, family members, friends. He sees who's repeatedly calling from a Jamaican number that was successful in the early days with talking to my dad, which continues to try to call and call and call and call, hoping to get through at some point. So it is a strategy that you might put in your toolbox to suggest in certain situations that families with concerns like this can implement a white list. You plug it into the phone, you plug it into the wall, you program it yourself, and that can stop calls from people that you don't want them to talk to. And it can eliminate, a lot of other things that are just spam calls that somebody with very elderly or with dementia isn't capable of handling.
Absolutely, it's a great proactive way to help your family. Is it going to work every time? Probably not. I mean, a lot of these elderly folks, they don't have families that are proactive like your family. Can we train staff at all these facilities? Absolutely, yes, we can do that. You also have the advent of spoof phone calls. I mean, these days they can make any number appear on your phone as a legitimate number, which makes it hard for especially elderly people. When they get a phone call and someone represents themselves as a law enforcement officer, generations are very trusting. So.
Right. The thing with the spoof number is, though, if it isn't a family member that's in the white list, it doesn't go through. So I'm just saying it's a tool that you can recommend if you have specific situations where a family or concerned friends can implement that. It does cut it off, and they still get many fewer calls, but they don't need more calls than just from family and friends.
Absolutely, it's a great idea.
I'd like to institute it for me with all the calls I get. Very good, Madam Mayor. Very good points.
Yes, absolutely.
Have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Paul, you want to talk about where we're headed with the Raven system and the NIBIN system?
Yes, sir. Good morning. I just wanted to touch up on the CompStat numbers. IT is currently testing the new report systems with the fibers and NIBRs, and they should be available next CompStat.
The way we report to the FBI has always been historically through UCR, Uniform Crime Reporting. They've changed all that now. So like anything else, there's a new system in there that's driving everybody crazy throughout the entire state because FDLE didn't do what they were supposed to do. So we're trying to play catch up on all the numbers. So thank you for bringing that up.
So with the Raven system, the same company as our body-worn cameras, we're going to be implementing a whole bunch of different sensors in the land area right now. That's the first area that we're going to test this out with. And what it does is it will hear gunshots and from many distances, and then it will coordinate and triangulate to a GPS coordinate that if it's even not reported to 911 by a citizen or something like that, it'll catch it and it'll come into the 911 system, and it can actually walk our deputies to the shells for us to collect. On the heels of that, then we just entered into a agreement with the ATF where we will now directly enter all our crime gun evidence directly to the ATF, where our shell casings and rounds can be correlated and then matched up with other incidences. That should be online in maybe 60 to 90 days.
To give you an anecdotal story on that, we had a drive-by shooting in Deltona in February where, by the grace of God, a 7-week-old was not killed. Middle of the night, shots fired into the house. Detectives recovered the shell casings. You fast forward to April, there is a carload of juveniles from Deltona and Orange City speeding down International Speedway Boulevard. They lose control, they hit a tree. 3 are killed, 1 survives. Person that survives has a gun on him. That gun matches directly back to the shooting in February, which was his second shooting at a home, because he did another one when he was 16. This one he did when he was 18. So hopefully he's going to be on lockdown for quite a while. But that's going to work at a faster pace for us now. We're excited about that. The gunshot detection system, I was fortunate enough in July to be in New York at a crime meeting, and I got to sit and watch how they handle gun violence, and they have this system in the area we're focused on was the South Bronx. They were making arrests while the gunman was on location, and in some cases still firing when NYPD pulled up there. That's how great this technology. So we're experimenting with a certain area where we have most of our gunshots going on in South DeLand. So we're excited about that new technology we're rolling out. You want to talk about the 911 calls being the system we're looking at?
Oh,
The Polk County trip?
Okay.
I know you make a lot of trips. I just want to keep it.
So building on all the new technology we're getting, we're actually getting a new CAD system through Central Square. So we're building out, this would change a lot. There's some AI built into it. There's some automated dispatching for the fire departments. So we're in a whole big shift. Myself and the chief deputy have personally met with the fire chief. We're trying to get on a unified front. So there'll be a lot of things changing out at dispatch. Hopefully it's a lot smoother than the ERMS system we just switched over to, but it'll all tie in together. And actually, in the end, it will make everybody's life simpler. So everything entered into the report system, everything entered into the CAD system will transfer automatically into the deputies' reports. What's that do for us? It saves us time. It gets the deputies back on the streets quickly when they're doing their reports. So there's a lot of good things going on out at Central right now. So, and that's what we're doing.
Did you say about the call being dispatched right to the deputy? They could hear the 911 call?
Oh, that's Polk County trip. That was another trip we got to go on.
Did I say Polk County?
You did.
Okay, I just wondered.
I was thinking Marion County, Sheriff.
Did you drink your coffee here yet?
There's a little bucket. So there's a new system out there where as the deputy is riding around, it's kind of a geofence type thing for their area. So when a 911 call comes in, hello, this is Tim, my wife is beating me, I need help, please send help, help, help. The deputy can hear it live time in their patrol car, which is actually cutting down response times, which is another great tool. In Polk County, they actually had a baby choking, and the deputy heard it come over the radio. Before they got it to this call center, before they dispatched it, the deputy was on scene and saved the baby. So this is going to be a great technology, and we're looking to roll that out. So we're in the initial steps right now to get that in place.
Brian, even though the Bowery doesn't have a beach, I'm sure a lot of the residents go to the beach. You want to talk about what's been going on since we took over, what we do and what we don't do?
Certainly. So I'm Lieutenant Cobb. I am the assistant commander with the new District 1 Coastal Unit. We've been on the beach since May 1st. We did a soft transition in May. We fully took over in early June. And since then, every day we're a little bit closer to a fully self-sufficient district. Basically what we're doing down there is the same thing we're doing in all the districts countywide. We handle the law enforcement services on the beach. We've made a lot of good arrests cleaning up the beach. A lot of lewd and lascivious behavior by transients and some of the locals that are less than desirable down there, making quality of life issues for people that are trying to just go down there and visit it. And then with that said, we're still working hand in hand with beach safety, and they're dealing with the setting up the traffic patterns and ensuring that the conservation areas aren't violated. And both entities working together, we should have a very successful, or we've had a very successful summer, and we should conclude this summer successfully. And I think by next year, we'll have a lot of these wrinkles ironed out and be able to just move forward like a traditional VSO district.
You want to talk real quick about the tents and the trucks?
Yeah, well, right now the Sheriff's Office is trying to implement some new ordinances. The News Journal wrote an article on it, kind of highlighting some of the issues. But the squatted trucks that we certainly see here in DeBary, they also make their way over to the beach in Groves. We're trying to make that a county ordinance violation due to safety concerns of the front end of the truck being lifted up to where you can't see over the dash. That one's pretty self-explanatory. We got a bunch of kids, adults laying in the sand, and you just can't see it. It's completely unsafe to have those vehicles on the beach. So we're working towards making that a criminal offense that we can cite them, get them off the beach, and hopefully that'll rectify some of those problems. Another county ordinance violation that we're pushing forward is temporary structures on the beach, tents, canopies, things of that nature. Maintaining a way that law enforcement as well as the general public can see inside these tents so you know what's going on. It just discourages nefarious activity. Nothing good goes on a tent or an enclosed structure on the beach. It's narcotics usage, lewd behavior. It's just nothing's good. Nobody's going down there and locking up a tent at 100 degrees on the beach and doing something they're supposed to be doing. So that's going to really help get rid of some of these lewd behaviors that are occurring on the beach. Some of them are occurring in front of children and things of that nature. I think we've made upwards of 20 arrests for that since May. So that's really going to give us some more tools in our toolbox to take care of that problem and just make quality of life on the beach as best as it can be. The sheriff noted yesterday, and I've received the same thing, a lot of unsolicited compliments of the sheriff's office being down there in these parks and getting the people that loiter there that aren't supposed to be there in the mornings. The employees felt unsafe to get out of their car and going to work at 7 a.m. They're starting to notice a big difference in us arresting those people that aren't supposed to be there and have been trespassed and told multiple times. We're getting them out of there so now they can come to work and go in the building, get their day started, and they feel much more comfortable. So those are massive compliments for quality of life issues.
I think the big thing for me was when I read the arrest reports every day, the number of sex offenders and that lewd and lascivious behavior that goes on down there, in particular in the core area.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I've lived here the majority of my life here in Volusia County and been to going to these beaches for decades, and never would I have ever guessed there was so much of that going on. We got down there and we started looking at it under a microscope, and like the sheriff said, it's happening regularly and we're beating it down regularly. We've used a lot of resources from unmarked cars to undercover deputies down on the beach to really put a kibosh on it, and we're noticing now you can go to the Daytona Pier in the morning and there's no one there except birds, which is for anybody that hasn't been to the Daytona Pier in the morning, that's a big deal. So
Thank you. Chief, anything before I turn open to questions? Anything we miss?
No, the trucks and the tents, you know, for the public, I thought I had a loud voice.
You do.
Thank you. For the trucks and the tents that you saw in the news yesterday for the citizens here, I can't stress enough how important that is. In addition to all the issues you heard the lieutenant talk about, we've Narcaned a lot of people on the beach. You know, the one thing I'll add to the tents is that we don't want to have somebody overdose and die in a hot tent and lay there for 8 hours and us not know about it. And that very well could happen. So I just wanted to add that. Super proud of what those guys and girls are doing on the beach. It's been a huge undertaking, and that you guys are doing really good. So thank you.
Or lure a child into there or anything like that, because that's where they're basically peering out of the tent in one of the cases while they're pleasuring themselves.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't really restrict anybody from coming down to enjoy the beach. It's literally just a tool to keep the undesirable behavior at bay. And it is very dangerous. Like the sheriff said, we had one that was partially open. You could barely see in it, and the only reason that we were able to make a case on it is we happen to have an unmarked car in the area. We could sneak up on them, and we actually have it on camera where a mom and 2 kids walking by this tent while they're behaving in this fashion. So, you know, we're taking the fight to them doing that and trying to build these different tools to make these cases good, where they go to prison and they're not just coming right back down on the beach and doing the same thing over and over again. So yeah, the guys are working very hard. We got a lot of new guys down there. We're going to get the rest of our new guys out in the next 7 days. We got a lot of equipment to do a great job, and we will continue to do our best to make the beaches safe and clean and good for family and friends to come down here and enjoy them.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody have any questions about anything? Phyllis?
Of course. You talk about taking on the beach and stuff like that. How are you guys staffed? Are you okay on staff? Are you short? Are you over? You're never over, right?
We are, but the shortage that I have that we're going to fill is to fill the beach. The shortage that we have. As far as the districts, we're good to go.
Okay.
So the us taking it over, that's our new mission, is to hire another 17, I think. I don't know what the exact number is. 23? So we're 23 down. But of that, 17 are for the beach.
The whole agency.
In the whole agency, yeah.
That's the 35 we added for the beach. So that we're doing really well when it comes to hiring. I would say we're doing better than the nation as far as it goes for law enforcement and everything. And we're graduating a bunch of people.
Yeah,
Yes,
we have
ma'am.
another graduation on October 12th, Carla? Class number 5, 4? 4. So,
And that was a big class.
yeah, it started out big.
Oh.
Might not be as big as when we started, but
Everybody doesn't make it.
But on another note of that, we are in the process now. Our academy is going to be nationally nationally accredited. So the organization is nationally accredited, which means we meet or exceed national standards. The Communication Center 2 years ago was nationally accredited. They meet or exceed national standards, and only 1% of communication centers around the country receive that accreditation. So that's a heck of a feather in their cap. And now with the Academy, I think there's only 2 other sheriff's offices or police organizations in the entire state of Florida who are triple certified in those 3 areas. So the assessors were in yesterday to do what's called a mock, and they gave us extremely high marks when they left. And as a matter of fact, they took a lot of our ideas about how innovative we were, and they commented on that. So that's, again, it's a compliment to the men and women of this place. So you have the easy job.
Yes, I do.
Pass the mic around. Anybody have anything else?
Just to say that I think things are headed the right direction, and here in DeBary, we have enjoyed a very strong cooperative environment between city employees, electeds, and our local sheriff's office, and I see that continuing with Omar joining us. And I had a personal interaction with one of the deputies within the last 3 weeks. And it was in reference to a situation with some juveniles, which I was familiar with, one being my next-door neighbor. And I found out that the deputy who was investigating the situation also will be the SRO at University High, and so he has moved on to that role. And for me, that's very encouraging because he will have been here in DeBary, and he knows who the young people are who have been interacting with our sheriff's office over the last number of months, and assures me he will keep an eye out to help keep them, as I said, when he and I were discussing. We just need them within the guardrails. And all of these kids still have the potential to become strong contributing citizens, but they definitely need guardrails, and the various ones of them may come from family situations where the guardrails aren't firmly in place. And so I think that that interaction was encouraging, because I think that our juveniles, who I'm concerned about, moving into high school will have an SRO who is very familiar with them and their interactions to date. Thank you so much.
I think I speak for all of us. I'm not used to this microphone stuff. I think I speak for all of us, Mayor, Phyllis, that it's an honor and a privilege to serve this community. It really, really is. It's a great community to serve. And I'm going to give Todd, you get the last word. Please plug the internet safety class. 28th.
Yes, we're doing internet safety classes the 28th, I believe the 29th as well, right?
28th here, I think.
28th is here,
The
29th is
28th is
Pearson.
here and 29th is in Pearson. So definitely we need as many people to come out as possible, learn about internet safety, how to keep your kids safe. The schools are doing a portion of it, but we need the parents to be educated as well and have them participating, active participation, know what your kids are doing, know what's going on their devices, and learning the things that we're going to teach in that are really critical for modern day parents.
I would just, if any parent is listening, it's well spent. It's 90 minutes. If you can invest 90 minutes of your time to see what is going on or what your child may be downloading or what they're doing in a gaming room, I think it's well worth it for any parent to invest 90 minutes.
It's going to open their eyes. There's no doubt about that. It's very important information that could potentially save their kid's life, and they definitely need to come out.
Amen. All right. Stay safe. Thank you all for a great job. Yep.
Quick question,
Yes.
just on that, are any, thank you, Casey. Just a quick question on those seminars. Are any of them being recorded and/or streamed or made available after the fact?
Yeah, we are recording them all, and then we're going to put like the greatest hits together, where people can go on and see the different. Because some of the folks asked DeLand, we got some really, really good questions. So that's something we want to make sure, and they're probably questions that every parent would ask. So we're recording them all, and then we're putting together a greatest hits, and then after the last one, we'll have it posted on our website. Oh, you agree? Because you're looking at me, you always disagree with me. Okay. Thank you.